I'm Tipsy, and today we'll be going over the Devstream and what it has shown so far and what we can expect in the next few months of Warframe, and it is looking pretty good so far. So first, October is gonna be pretty packed month because October the 15th we are getting the new update called the Vallis Undermind, which will bring a ton of new content into Warframe. And one of the big things is, of course, we're getting a new frame called Nokko, and of course the Vallis Undermind itself is pretty big as well. Because this is gonna be a whole new section to the underneath of Fortuna or Vallis, a fungal underground area with a lot of mushrooms, new mechanics to play around with and more content to discover. They also introduced it with a new area where we have access to bounties and a whole new system of something called mushroom hunting or adventures we can go on, which will let us unlock even more knowledge about this new syndicate or whatever they are going to bring with it, and their mushrooms and so on. We will also be getting a new trippy game mode where we can play, as Steve would say it,
gonna juice those butt cheeks maybe,
as a mushroom going on little adventures. And of course, at the heart of all of this, we will be getting a new NPC called Nightcap, who will basically looks like to be the main syndicate NPC, and here we'll be able to analyze and discover mushrooms and also buy new decorations and other stuff. The new bounty system will also trigger a new bigger tile set, which is not gonna be a fully open world, but it will be something along the lines of a middle ground between normal tile sets and the open world. So just a bigger tile set than normal. Now the elevator won't just take us up, it will actually also take us down, which will go into the new area where we will actually get the fungal cave or the Vallis Undermind. Next up is the new Warframe called Nokko, which is a playful little mushroom Warframe, and this will be the 60-second Warframe in the game. Rebecca also described him as kind of like Uriel's little brother, not as canon, but that was kind of the vibe they were going for with this Warframe, which is pretty interesting. Nokko's first ability is called Stink Brain, which will basically throw down the mushroom that will pulse a toxin spores over time and deal viral damage and also status effects to enemies in range. Then we have his second ability, which is called the Bright Bonnet, which is a support ability that actually gives energy to your team and also a short buff to ability strength to your teammates in range. Then we have the third ability called the Reroot, which basically turns you into one of the small looking mushroom people, and then you will be healing rapidly while also being untargetable. You will also release spores that will actually lull nearby enemies to sleep as a little bonus thing. And a big up is we will also get the small mushrooms as you see here. We will also get them as a Thermia, so we can actually have them follow your Warframe around, which looks pretty cool, and I'm looking forward to having that one on. Then we have the fourth ability, which is the Spore Spring, which launches a spore that actually will jump between mushrooms and enemies, and as it bounces around it will activate your mushrooms and also double their effect trigger rate. And this looks like an interesting Warframe that we'll be getting, so let me know in the comments what you think of Nokko, the 60-second Warframe that is coming on October the 15th. Also, these videos do take quite a while to actually make, so it would be very much appreciated if you hit that like button right here, and also subscribe if you want to see even more content on this channel. We will also be getting Oberon Rework, which will be coming with a few big changes to how Oberon actually works. First, his passive ability is getting changed. Now picking up health orbs or universal orbs will give him and his teammates charges of damage negation called the Righteous Negation. These charges works kind of like Revenant's Mesmer Skin, so we will have to look forward to how that will actually work, and we are basically getting a new invulnerability frame, as each of these charges will actually give invulnerability to incoming damage with a 0.25 cooldown before the next charge can actually be used. So definitely kind of like the Mesmer Skin, I guess. Oberon's abilities are also changing up a bit. We first have Smite, his first ability, which will now fully armor strip defenses, including overguard shields, and also does a percentage damage to enemies in range. While his second ability, the Hollow Ground, is now more of a circle-like instead of the cone we had before, making it easier to use in different tile sets, and it will also apply a guaranteed radiation procs that will no longer be cancelled by nullifiers. While his third ability will now officially have an affinity range and a fixed energy cost, and it will then follow Oberon around instead of just being where you placed it. It will also cost 3.5 energy per second, and casting it on Hollow Ground will also double the heal, and it will give armor on top of that. While his fourth ability, the Reckoning, now actually requires line of sight but deals more damage. It also armor strips enemies and grants armor to Oberon per enemy hit, which is kind of interesting. So some pretty interesting changes overall, but let me know what you think of the Oberon Rework, and I will also leave a link down below where you can read more about the rework and how the numbers actually changed. Now the arc guns or heavy weapons are also getting some love, as we are actually seeing the arcanes coming for arc guns, as they will fit both a primary and secondary arcane in this update, meaning we will now be able to actually slot on arcanes on our arc guns, which is gonna be pretty interesting, I guess. And I can't wait to see what this will actually bring to the table with new builds and setups to mess around with, and what we will actually be seeing with the heavy guns going forward. Also, we got our first look at the new Deluxe skins for both Lavos and Wukong, and they look pretty awesome. As we are seeing here, we get this more Chinese looking Wukong skin, and we're also seeing a full look at the Lavos skin, which looks pretty cool. So overall, I really like the aesthetics of both of these skins, and I will definitely be buying them. And just look at the animations. We even get like ephemera and stuff like this coming with these updates. So I'm definitely looking forward to this. We also got another short look at the Teacher's quest coming with the October Vallis Undermind update. I'm also looking forward to seeing our official introduction to Tashian here, and also what this quest will actually bring to the table. As new players will definitely have an easier time learning the modding experience in the game with this quest, so I'm definitely glad they are adding some more systems like this to the game, introducing newer players to more awesome things early on. Also, this is something I'm looking very much forward to, and that is for the fashion lovers out there, and operators and drifters are actually getting a full remaster. First up, we are seeing an update to the remasters of the operators, which will get updated first, and then later on this year we should also be seeing the drifter update, which will update all of the drifter skins and how they look on the drifter. And that means we will be getting better visuals, new customization, and even new hairstyles that I can't wait to see how they will actually look in cutscenes. I will definitely be spending some plate with these updates, and that's for sure. After Nokko, the next Warframe will be Uriel, which will be arriving with the old Peace update in December, which I'm also looking forward to, and they tease something new coming with this update as well now. And the big surprise is basically that Uriel is not just getting a Warframe, but he will also be a Proto frame, meaning we will officially be seeing our first playable Orokin in the game, or maybe playable, we don't know for sure yet, but it sounds like he will basically become a Proto frame, so I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. Also, I will be guessing Lore Masters are gonna be in scrambles after this update, so yeah, I look forward to that. So not only are we getting the beautiful Proto frame designs with Wisp and Horror, we are also be getting the Uriel Proto frame, which will look pretty cool, and I actually really love the direction DE is going with mixing in Proto frames and frames, so we get more customization. Some things were also mentioned throughout the stream, and that was some quality of life stuff, and I even read about some other stuff that I don't think was mentioned on the dev stream, but it was mentioned in one of the dev posts, which we'll be going over now. And that is actually screen shake and recoil changes. So basically, guns will no longer shake your entire screen, but will instead show a recoil area, like a little fixed area on the screen where you can see where the shot will actually go in. I think this looks pretty good, as I actually don't like the idea of recoil. I think this is actually a better change, but it looks like to be in the accessibility, so this might be something we can turn on and off. And for operators and drifters, soon we will also be able to actually equip the sickness on our operators and drifters to make even more customization when it comes to our drifters and operators. And I'm guessing this will also come with the rework of the drifters and operators. We'll also be seeing a little update to the old tile sets and even the relay, as we are getting the newer lightning actually added to the old tile sets and the old missions as well. There was also some other stuff they spitballed throughout the dev stream, and you can hear some of it here, but basically they went over it pretty quickly and I didn't catch everything.
Screen shake toggle off. Remove screen shake movement when firing guns at a diamond reticle.
And we also reduced some screen shake for weapons, one of them including the Trumna.
Weapons include Titania, Dexpress, Phantasma, MK1, Bratton, Twin Ricardos,
With such a big update, even the Damage Attenuation is actually getting tweaks with Vallis Undermind, and Pablo basically broke it down the best, so you can take a listen to him here.
Are you guys?
Hello. Sorry I couldn't be there with you for the dev stream, but here I am virtually to talk about Damage Attenuation. You guys have been asking us to look at it for a while, so here we are. Sorry if there's a little bit of construction noise, cannot be helped. So what is it? Damage Attenuation is a system that we use mostly for bosses, where if they take a lot of damage in a short amount of time, they raise their defenses so they don't die as fast. What is the purpose of it? The purpose is, since we have such a big gap on how much damage you can do in Warframe, think of someone that has been playing for a long time, but doesn't have the best ribbon in the world, doesn't have max arcanes, they don't have like all the shards, Tau forged on their Warframe, etc., etc. Compare that to someone that does have the best of the best, the latest incarnate, everything format to the extreme. That gap in damage is so large that if we tune bosses for the bottom group, then for the top group, whenever you go into a brand new boss that we just released, like we just released Thoraxia, for example, you go in to fight the brand new boss that we worked on, you get there, shoot her once, she's dead. Obviously, that would be pretty anticlimactic. You probably wonder, why did DE spend 4 to 6 months working on this boss if it's just going to die in one shot? It probably would be pointless for us to even work on bosses at that point. So if we, instead of that, tune the damage numbers for the top group, then that bottom group is going to suffer, because it's going to take 1,000,000 years to kill that boss, because he's going to have so much health that he's going to feel like chopping wood. So Obviously, we don't want either of that. So that is the purpose of this. It allows us to balance somewhere in the bottom middle, and then basically damage attenuation takes care of making the fight last a certain amount of time for both groups. What are the issues with this? Well, there's a few. So the first one is it doesn't work really well for scaling levels. So all the numbers are tuned for the normal version. So when you fight the version in like Deep Archimedia, for example, sometimes those fights, and you probably experienced it if you're a veteran, those fights end up taking 25 minutes or something crazy, and obviously that's not fun for anyone. The other issue is that it's very confusing. There's many different variants of the system. So some are affected by fire rate, some are affected by other things. So that obviously is no good. No one understands exactly how it works, and it changes from boss to boss, so we don't like that. And the third issue is obviously for a game like ours, where it's a lot about like getting the next upgrade and getting the more powerful mod and the more powerful Raven and blah. It feels bad that once you have good gear, the boss fights don't feel that different than when you have extremely good gear, because once you're past a certain point, the damage attenuation will kind of keep pushing back so you don't go too fast. Obviously, that doesn't feel good. So what are we changing about this? We're changing a few things. So first, no more flat numbers. So the way it works right now is essentially all of those damage attenuation thresholds are set up by flat numbers. So imagine something like once you deal more than 10,000 damage in a second, the damage attenuation kicks in. Well, that works fine when you're like in normal, but once you're in Steel Path, 10,000 damage is kind of nothing. So that means the attenuation kicks in right away. Once you're obviously in Deep Archimedia, it means 10,000 damage, you apply, 100 times that. So it obviously is not very useful at that point. So instead of that, now it's going to be based on percentages, and that will allow it to scale much better throughout the game. So you'll never encounter now those 30-minute fights in Deep Archimedia. We're going to standardize it. Again, like I said earlier, we have many different versions. So there's like some that are affected by crit, some that are not, some that can be circumvented with fire rate, some that were made for a single boss. We have a whole bunch of different systems for this. We're going to standardize them all into one so that as a player, you have more clearer experience when you're playing against bosses, and it doesn't feel like it's all over the place depending on the boss that you fight. And it also makes it easier for us to maintain and be sure that it's working as expected, because it's a single system, and as we touch it, it basically spreads throughout the game. We're lowering the attenuation. This is to address that other thing that I was saying, which is that at a certain point you feel like your upgrades no longer kind of matter for bosses because the damage attenuation kicks in too early. So right now, there's some bosses where attenuation kicks in, like when you have almost no gear, you immediately starts kicking in. So with these new numbers, it's much more forgiving. It takes significantly longer for those the damage attenuation to kick in. It's hard to give you like precise numbers because again, it also will scale based on the level that you're fighting. But if you're something like Deep Archimedia, you probably can have an Incarnon with Roar, and you'll have a hard time kicking into the damage attenuation. Basically, it'll be hard to break into that barrier where the damage attenuation starts to intervene. So hopefully with that, you'll feel more the effects as you get gear, and as you get stronger, you'll be able to see larger numbers against those bosses. Obviously, if we just did that, the bosses would die immediately. So overall, we're changing the effective health of those bosses, since we know where you're going to fight them. So we know like if you're fighting one in Steel Path, we know the sort of gear that we can expect from you to have on Steel Path. We know what sort of gear we can expect from you in something like Deep Archimedia or a normal. So we're going to tweak the health of those bosses to deliver a similar experience to what it is today on kind of our target gear. Is going to be a similar amount of time, but that does mean that because now it's health and not attenuation, if you get better gear, you kill the boss faster. If you have lesser gear, you kill the boss slower. So now your gear actually matters more. The other thing is we're fixing it for multiplayer. Right now, the way it works is once attenuation kicks in for one player, it kicks for everyone. So with this new version, let's say you're super veteran with all the gear in the world, attenuation will kick in, but it won't affect someone that has more middle of the road gear playing with you. It'll have to apply for each person. So, yeah. So there's way too many bosses. It's a very large change. There's a lot of bosses. There's a lot of versions. You know, the normal, the steel path, the deep media, the hard modes. There's many variants, and obviously there's a lot of different kind of combinations with different warframes, different weapons, and whatnot. So we're definitely expecting that once this releases, we're still gonna need to tweak it some. As you guys test it out and you play it and you give us the experience, you'll say like, hey, Paolo, you know, this boss now is taking too long to kill, and then we'll probably nerf it. And then you'll say, oh, this one now just drops when I shoot it twice. We'll probably buff that one. And then basically, we're gonna need your feedback to help us figure out the things that need touching. A great example, for example, is the Tridolon. We've tried it with the best gear on live and on dev, and it feels pretty similar to us. But if you're out there and you say like, hey, I could do 27 runs per night before, and now I can only do 26, we'll take a look and we'll see what we can do. Anyways, I'll be back to talk about Oberon later. I'll see you then. Adios.
So that's the full breakdown. What updates are you most excited for? Nokko, Vallis Undermind, or maybe the Drifter rework? Drop it in the comments down below, and don't forget to stay tipsy, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.